Morning, all you crazy people. It's a Wednesday morning, 23rd of September, just checking, and off we're going to go. So just to give a bit of a recap on Monday, here we have the block Simplicity finished. You can see it there. I've named it Vanessa's block. My friend Vanessa, her surname was Green. She passed away from complications or arising from cervical cancer last week. And so the green in the middle is for Vanessa. If you have a look and put it down a bit. And then the turquoise on the outside, that is the color for cervical cancer awareness. So that's my block for Vanessa. Today is her memorial service. So a bit of closure. So we'll move on. Today we're going to be looking at the block Aeroplane, which is what it's called in Eleanor Burns' Quilt in a Day, Go Cube. Just a little bit of information with regards to Accuquilt. Yesterday they launched a new cube, an English paper piecing cube. It has hexagon, so it's works out to a 1-inch finished size of the English paper piecing. So there's a hexagon, there's triangles, parallelograms. I think we'll have it up on the website a little bit later today, and it's quite exciting. So currently it's just the one cube, which is the 1-inch finished, and all the components you would need to put that together. But without any further ado, let's move on to our 40-minute challenge, which is, can we cut and piece a block using the Accuquilt system in 40 minutes? So on Monday, we didn't, I cut off at 40 minutes. We went a bit over time. It took me about 50 minutes to complete the block, but it was quite quick. Okay, so moving along. The cube is available in a number of different sizes, but I'll go through that in a second with you. The dies that we will be using today is die number 5, so it doesn't matter what cube size you are using, you would look for die number 5 and die number 3. So die number 5 is your half square 3-inch finished triangle, and die number 3 is your 6-inch finished triangle, also the half square, but a 6-inch finished. All right, let's go. So I'm going to be cutting the large triangles first, and we need 4 of them. So I've taken a piece of fabric, which I'm just checking is 7.5 by 15 inches, and I'm basically folding it in half, laying it up onto the die, just ensuring that everything is covered, because my fabric, I didn't cut it exactly square. It was a little bit skew. And just remember, when you do lay your fabric up, to lay it up in union with the way the shape is on the foam. That way you will ensure that you get your grain correct. So line it up towards the top of your die, of the blade, and not the die. That's something which I have realized, and it's quite important to ensure that your fabric is then cut on the grain. If you lay it up matching the edge of the die, your fabric then is slightly off. And that's what I always thought it was to measure up along the top of the die, but you should actually do it in union with the shape. Okay, so we're going to go through this. I'm just looking for the cutting mat. Here we go. And on the note with cutting mats, just remember, when your cutting mat looks like this, it's time to say goodbye. Not only that, when you cut with the mat, remember to alternate and use different areas of the mat when you cut. That way your mat will last a lot longer. Okay, so there we have 4 pieces cut. That's just going to go straight into the confetti bin. Okay, and I just want to check how let's move that one up there. Okay, so that's done. Next up, what we are going to do is, because we are going to be using a light and a medium together, I'm going to actually cut the two pieces of fabric together. So I'm going to lay them up on top of each other. We're looking at something that is has got a print, so we also need to be a bit, although not, no, it's fine. So what we are going to do is that, just checking that I have all the sides covered. Again, you're laying up parallel to the shape and not to the edge of your die. Okay, good. I'm going to cut this piece off here. What I'm in effect trying to do here is to show you how we can cut, and as the pieces come off the die, they are ready just to be, you don't even have to open them up. They are literally ready to be stitched. So we've got, oh, this is going to give me a nightmare. What you ideally should do with this is have your pieces that you can stack them alternatively together onto the die. Remember that you can use up to 6 layers of fabric at one time. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we've got 3. Okay. Obviously, the danger of doing it this way is that you can actually end up with fabric that is not cut exactly. You know, your triangles may end up with a little bit cut off. So I'm chancing my luck by doing this, trying to save a little bit of time. Okay, let's go. Let's hope. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pieces of fabric. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this piece of fabric through the cutting machine or through the rollers. It's my cutting mat, so that it doesn't get caught underneath the die. And you might have to push it a little bit if you are going to use the 6 layers of fabric. I generally work with 4. I find that 4 works nicely for me. I get a good cut, and there's no problems later on. All right, let's see what we've got and if we've got enough. Okay, we've got a little bit of a snag here with one of the pieces of fabric, so I'm going to clear as much as I can off the die. And I found my pick. This comes with your initial cutting when you buy your machine, and you can just literally pull that out. But now what I would suggest we do, and I've had some glasses here, I wonder where they've gone. Oh dear. What you would do is just lift out the excess thread. Because I've been using this die quite a bit, there's a lot of thread that's been caught up in the corner. of the dye, and you need to get that out. Once you get that out, then you'll find that the dyes will cut and you won't have that thread in the corner. Okay, so what we are looking at, I just wanted to confirm, oh, and the picture, now I can't see my picture. Hold on 2 moments, you can still see me, I just want to have a look. Okay. Always good to lay out your designs on a design board just to make sure that you're cutting or that you're stitching in the correct place. There we go. So we have that and that. Crease the fabric a little bit here. Let me just have a squiz again. Okay, so I've actually cut too many of the light blues, so we'll just put them over here. They'll go nicely with that. We'll make a, and then the dark blue we are looking at, so I'm going to need 2, 4, 6 more. There we go. So we need 6 more of these. What we're just going to do is lay it out and concertina it 3 times. That way, there we go. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we will have then 6 pieces, 2, 4, 6. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut these off. The larger pieces you can use for applique work. The smaller pieces you can use for confetti type quilting, you know, where you use your tool over it and you cut up all the little pieces. And okay, there we go. Remember to alternate, and you can see it goes through a little bit easier now because we've only got 3 layers of fabric as opposed to 6. And I'm still having a bit of a problem in that corner. And over here as well, and it's really because we haven't cleaned them out nicely. Yeah, I can see a whole lot of stuff coming out now. You definitely need to keep it clean so that it doesn't clump up like that. Let me just get my glasses. Okay, I'm back. Perfect. I can see a little bit better. Yeah, definitely lots and lots of bits of fluff. You need to clean them out. And then you'll find that your pieces won't stick into the dye. There we go. So what we are in effect going to be doing now is again completing 3, 4 quarters and then adding the 4 quarters together. So let's actually start with our squares. I'm going to just move these up a little bit so that we know which is with what. I'm going to start with the squares in the middle. We can do some chain piecing there. Fantastic. I like to pin my my triangles on either end. You don't necessarily need to. I just find that then my squares end up being pretty square, and that's really the trick to this. But you will see that with the Accuquilt, what is so nice with this system is that your squares are cut. You have pieces cut off at the corners to allow for less bulk in your project. So you still do need to trim in certain areas, but overall it does assist with keeping the bulk down. Four of those up. Okay, let's start with our sewing. You do need to be a little bit, there is quite a bit of a stretch on your the longest edge of your triangle, so you just got to try and keep that in check. Remove your pins before you start to sew. It can cause damage to your machine. Okay, so our Accuquilt, our cubes are available in a 10-inch, or sorry, a 12-inch, a 10-inch, a 9-inch, an 8-inch, and a 6-inch. And what that in effect means is that really the size of the quilt or the size of the block when you are finished completing it with all the pieces, it will then end up being a 10, a 9, or 8. As I say last night, there are also speciality cubes. There's a speciality cube by Etaya Satar, which is very nice. It has beautiful basket shape in it, and it has stars and hearts. It's very pretty. Then there is also just recently now launched, as of last night, the English paper piecing cube. That's very exciting if you do English paper piecing, because what's really nice is that that cube will cut your paper and your fabric to the right size. I'm seriously considering just buying a cube for the shop, because as you know, we will cut for you if there's a shape that you want. Particularly with the English paper piecing, I do have the dies where I can cut your fabric and your paper at the same time. Okay, we need it done here, and we'll just press these little babies open. And so I was just on YouTube now before we started the show, and I see there's massive flooding and storms in Houston and Galveston. If you ever are fortunate enough to do the international festival and you do go past or go through Galveston or take a trip to Galveston, you'll wonder why all the houses are on stilts until the guide tells you that when it's rainy season, these homes often get flooded. And in fact, if you go and have a look at YouTube now, you'll see exactly what they mean. All right, I'm just going to bring the ironing board over to this side. so that you can see how we're going to iron these things. I will, because I want the seam to fall onto the darker side, I will place the lighter side on the board and just fold it over. That way you are minimizing the stretch that you're putting on the fabric, which, as you know, we don't want to stretch it out. You just want to press it. Okay, so that's the first one up. And we're going to do that. Okay, so all four of them have been ironed. From here, we are then going to do our flying geese formation. So we'll start with this one and we'll basically pop it on like that. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pin them directly from the design board. That way, you know you are definitely stitching the correct side of the block, because that can always happen is you take it off and you put it down and then you've forgotten which side of the square you should be stitching. Again, you don't have to do the pinning. I'm just a little bit anal and I want everything to be absolutely perfect. Not that it does work out that way, but it's always a good idea, particularly if you are putting quilts up for show, not only at your local guild meeting, but at your national festival. You want things to be absolutely perfect. And that's what's nice about the Accuquilt, is you are cutting precision shapes if you lay your fabric out correctly and you don't put too much fabric through the rollers. You will get an absolutely perfect cut. Straight, straight, straight. Okay, oh, I'm pinning my fingers. Blood. Mm. Done and dusted. Four. There we go. I think this block will actually be a fairly simple one, and we should get it done quite quickly, which will be great. Remember to cut off your excess thread. You don't want it getting caught up in your projects later on. All right, again, how are we going to iron this? I'm going to basically just iron it across like that. Ensure that it's nice and flat. There we go. And there we have it. Okay. Move on to the next side. We know it needs to be this way. We don't need to worry too much, although I'm still going to check that I have placed it correctly, because the last thing you want is to stitch everything together and then you find that you've sewed it again on the wrong side, which can easily happen with this kind of a formation. And you will see that your blocks just line up, or your triangles line up really nicely without any excess bulk. I'm just now looking for these triangles. Where on earth did they go? Oh, here they are. Okay. Again, I'm going to take the pin out at the beginning so that I don't write over it. It just causes a bit of tension in your thread, in your stitching, and you don't want that. You can see how the machine gives a bit of issues when you want it to ride over that first pin. Okay, let's have a quick squiz and see where we are. Cut off your excess thread on that side, there, there. And that's basically what your unit's going to look like. Get 4 of those together. You should have a slight lip there, you can see. Okay. There we go. So all of them have worked out quite nicely. From there, we're just going to take our half square triangles and we are going to lay them up along with the blue. What you could do if you wanted to was just to snip that piece of fabric, this little doodad here. We're going to just snip it off. You don't have to, but just less bulk. And what you can also then do is you can take your triangle, your six-inch half finished triangle, half square triangle, should I say, fold it in the middle, and then you know that that is where you need to pin it in the middle of your flying geese formation. And that will be square on. There we go. And then it actually should line up perfectly with the rest of the block, or the rest of the half triangle. Checking to see my time. I'm seeing I'm on 33 minutes. Right here we've got another little piece that we can trim on the scissors. There we go. We're actually not quite square. I can feel in the fabric that it's a little tight. So I knew that I was not in the place where I needed to be. I was actually in the seam allowance and had gone through some stitching, and I could just feel the way the tension on the pin went through that piece of fabric. Okay, and then the last one up. There is a slight, we can do a slight trim here, but it's not as much as the last two. Okay. There we have it. We possibly should have stitched on the other side. The next one I will do on the other side, simply because then I can see exactly where the stitching is going through, and if it's actually making, if it's closing things off at the correct space. Alrighty, so this one I'm going to put in this way around. I'm going to take the pin out. Okay, so if this was a competition quilt, I would definitely have unpicked there, because I can tell you now that it hasn't sat exactly on the join. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my height compensation tool from that I get with my Bernina, and I'm going to see if that will assist in keeping the fabric where I want it to go. Because that's always the problem. What happens is you're moving onto fabric that is slightly thicker. You can even pull out this because there's no seams that are joining there. Okay. And I think this one may be a bit better. Yep. Oh, no. So you don't want to do it too far away from the actual join, because then what happens is you'll get a bit of a kink in your stitch, which is what we had now. And I'll show you what it looks like, and what I'm going to do just to fix it is just to go back over it. So you want to make sure that when you do use that height compensator, you don't do it too far away, because otherwise what happens is, you can see, I don't know if you can see it, you got a little bit of a bump in the road. So what I'm going to quickly do now is I'm just going to fix that up and just stitch over it so that it's smoother. There we go. Okay, so there we have our 4 parts. We are sitting on 42 minutes, so I'm going to cut us off now. But basically what you would then be looking at is your four quarters, which will then be sewn together in this formation. That formation. There we go. I will show you the completed block on Friday. I don't want to run over time. As I see, we're on 42 minutes, and I like to keep these to as short a time as possible, or at 40 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed seeing the block so far, and I will show you the balance on Friday, or finished block on Friday, and then a new block as well. Thanks for joining us. Hope you have a great day further. Ciao.